to do the keynote tonight, you're in the wrong place. I appreciate everyone coming because you have no idea how much it means to me not to have only my wife sitting here clapping for me. Last year, if you were here, you know that I had a presentation, and unfortunately we had technical difficulties. I really appreciate everyone on the AV team that it looks like we have it solved this year. So I am going through somewhat of the same presentation to give you also an update, and I will mention something. It would be helpful if I touched the right things. Let's see if this works as well. You are here for the art of story and commerce. 20 Books to 50K, as I mentioned this morning, is about the business side of what we do. Craft is part of the business, but it's not the primary focus. There were already thousands of ways to get understanding of craft when 20 Books came around. What there wasn't was a focused way to look at the business side where people helped people with the right attitude. So, 2022, better video, better sound. Stay for the end, as they always say, because I might get in trouble. One of the things that we have to think about is, what is your mountaintop? That is the vernacular that I use when I'm trying to express what is it that you really want. What is it that you want in your life? You need to understand that in order for you to be able to understand what you're willing to do to get it. I'm here to discuss the dragon's treasure. That piece that you're going for, the metaphor that I'm using. In order to do that, I feel like I need to discuss what my mountain is and was. You need to understand that because whatever I tell you is going to be through the filter of my mountain. My mountain is, I only had two things. I wanted fans who wanted to reread my stories, my vernacular for I wrote something good, and make money. I had a job at the time. I was a consultant, and I was also doing Google Ads for blinds, window blinds. You've never had so much fun until you've done SEO on window blinds, and then you got to listen to someone bitch for 2 hours, which was all the profit for the month for them, about the fact that they're SEO, which you honestly can't do because I had Google set it up to actually implement. I had a strong motivation to get out of that. And that was a really large driver. So what are my qualifications to be discussing anything related to going up the mountain or getting to the dragon's treasure? A little bit about me. I released my first book November 2nd, which it took me a fair amount of time to write months, because I was trying to understand how do I use all the different tools that I was going to implement. Second book, what's November? NaNoWriMo. And I was like, oh, you know what? I'll start this puppy. 9 days later, I released my second book. These are about 60, 70,000 word books. Third book released November 22nd, December 15th with my fourth book. I did not understand that I was happened to be hitting the perfect sync for Amazon at the time to get their algorithm attention. And on my fourth book, I started making some serious money. $3,000 in December, which was a lot to me because you know what books don't do? They don't call in sick, they don't bitch at you for 2 hours on the phone, and they don't require you to do SEO about something you don't care about. So related to that, just understand where my mentality was. Qualifications, I've written my own multi-million-dollar bestseller. I've worked in bestsellers with collaborators to do over $1 million. I've created stuff. If you see created by, that means I've got another writer building it. Ghost writer, work for hire, right? I've done $1 million on that. We have $1 million translation team that goes from English over to foreign languages. That's a secondary company, LMBPN International. It's based out of Sharjah, the United Arab Emirates. We're now doing Spanish back into English out of Spain. We have probably one of the most efficient ability to do multiple books and editing out there. 28 days, mini book in our house, it's online. And that includes a 5-day pre-order. And that's at a volume of 18 to 25 books a month. So I just went the wrong way. We're going to fix this real quick. All right. We talked about what is your driving purpose. And I'm going to discuss a few, and I'd like you to understand I'm not judging. I don't personally care, but you need to understand what motivates you. And the darker the night, be honest with yourself because it will allow you to get there. Is it sharing that burning story that is in your psyche right now? And the way that I look at that is I ended up calling it a passion project because I tried to help a lot of people back in 2015, 2016, 2017, and I kept coming up against a hard stop against someone who had a story that wasn't really viable. Maybe 1 in a million chance, 1 in 100,000 that this is going to be a story that took off. And how was I supposed to explain to them, don't think this story about this Ninja Gaiden vampire transformer is going to hit. But they were passionate. They had had this in their mind for 10 years. So I'm like, you know what? This is a passion project. You probably have to get this out of your system. We can discuss how to market this Ninja Gaiden, this and that and the other. Most of the time they came back and said, okay, now talk to me about the connection between what I want to write and what people want to read. However, that is something that's out there. Glory. Hey, I got to be honest. At the time, I had done a lot of things that weren't successful, and I kind of wanted a pat on the back. More or continued glory? Have you had it before? Book 2, book 3, book 4, book 5, book 6. Do you want to build a name for yourself? Do you want to be known outside your circle, whatever your circle is? You know, think about that. There's some downsides. Certain people do pen names to hide themselves from their family. And I'll talk about this in a minute. So you have to understand, if I had known that my damn name was going to be on 1,000 books, I would have used pen name. But the interesting thing about it is generally when I go out in public, no one knows who I am. No one knows have I ever heard of you? I'm like, how many times I've been on the #1 bestseller science fiction for multiple years. But my answer is, nope, you probably never heard of me, not unless you're in Kindle Unlimited and you happen to like this. I met a lady who only reads books in my doctor's office the other day. And I'm like, do you like to read? She's like, oh, I love to read. You know, you're an author, this is great. Have I ever read you? Do you read ebooks? Nope. Totally went down. Do you want to build an empire? All of those wanting to build empires admit it. There we go. You're my people. Going after treasures are incredibly dangerous, right? If you've read the dragon stories or anything that's in your genre, going after whatever it is a dangerous situation. But what are the possible costs of doing this? Uncomfortableness. You're going to have to do things that you don't want to. Do you have to talk to people? Well, technically no. And that's one thing I want to actually explain to everybody. At the very last slide, I'm going to discuss new technologies. A lot of people are getting scared because they believe these new technologies are going to interrupt their ability to do stuff. And I want to explain. We're about to hit a demarcation line in publishing one more time. But it's going to liberate you if you're willing to ride this wave. I'd have gotten a little passionate on that. Time. Do you have any? Because it's going to go away if you're truly wanting to do it. Did you listen to Craig talk this morning about the sheer effort? There's no get-rich-quick scheme in this. There's some of us, I was fortunate that I hit it with my first 2 or 3 books. Others, not so much. Pardon me. So your time is going to go bye-bye. Hobbies. You'd better love what you do. How many of you love writing? Most, right? A lot of you. I liked it for about 18 books, which is a normal traditionally published author's complete lifespan. book a year, 18 years. This is great. That's about a year and a half for me. I was all of a sudden going, oh, my fingers hurt. Apple, I could kick your ass for that keyboard you put out. You'll notice I don't have that one anymore. Money. It's going to cost you money to do this. Is there a way, and we often talked about bootstrapping Indy 2018 in London, different things. We were bootstrapping. It is feasible, and it's getting actually more feasible if you're really willing to understand how to do it. All pieces of the production and publishing line can be mitigated on costs. You have to understand how to do it and be willing to do it, because it means you're going to get involved with interacting with other people. Health. I mentioned this last year. 2 years ago, I ended up going to the hospital. It's a really strange thing to actually go, hey, honey, this is how it went. Judith was on a Zoom call, and I kind of peeked around her corner because I'm really concerned about it. She gets mad about this. And I'm like, hey, honey, I've got a small problem. She's like, what is it? I went, she's like, what? I'm like, I can't really use my arm. She had to run into my office, tell the two people that were on my Zoom, Lynn and Steve, I got to take Mike to the hospital. My blood pressure was like 220 over 160 or something. Yeah, I was in the ambulance looking around this little box. They never explain how tiny that box is, going, how the hell do I write this off? There's got to be a tax way for me to, that's just too much business going through your mind. I never did figure that out. And success itself can be dangerous. You know, they're the stories of the people who are successful, and a random fan does strange things. How many ladies in here have had a male fan freak them out? Just freak them out. It happens, you know, right? So you have to be careful and be willing to understand what could be, not necessarily is, but what could be in your future as you go towards success. However, what can you find on the other side? Know the truth. Fans. The same fans that could be ugly, many other individuals never put up their hands because your fans are fantastic. They provide all of the emotional and ego support you could possibly want, and possibly more than that. The fans that give you a letter. Remember, I said fans who want to read my stories and make money. Never did I say in any of that I'd get an email going, I've been in the hospital for 3 weeks and your books are the only thing that have kept me sane. And all of a sudden you realize there's more to this than I thought. It gives you a level of edification, of an emotional support to go, maybe I'm changing the world one reader at a time, and I'm okay with that. Those are the stories that stick with me, long beyond when all the other things that I thought I wanted would be going on. So God bless fans. Income, quite a bit of it. You're right up here this morning, millions of dollars sitting here. Income. But you know what? Income only gets you so much. But it does help. They say, you know, money doesn't buy love or happiness, but it sure helps to get you there. I started 20 Books to 50K with the intent to try to help a lady pay for Infamil, because I still remember how much Infamil costs when you have a kid and you don't have all that much money, and instead of a gallon of milk, you got to buy $25 worth of Infamil, which is probably about half a can now. So that was one of the reasons. So income is beneficial. Passive income. You wake up in the morning, you hit your Amazon or whatever income board, and you realize, I've already made money. I was making money while I was asleep. Awards and accolades. More on the ego side, which is not bad. It's part of who we are as human beings, and some of us prefer that, or get your book in the store. It's edification. Know who you are, and don't actually apologize for it. Audio success. I'll tell a little bit of audio story a little bit later, but I want to talk about that. Foreign success. I was, interestingly enough, recognized at the Frankfurt Book Fair by a couple of individuals who followed 20 Books because they became publishers by what they learned. They weren't writers themselves. And they randomly sat behind me, and so I happen to appreciate that story. Derivative success, comics, graphic novels, games, movies, TV, it's becoming more and more successful, and the opportunity from the technology that we're pushing, the stuff that's coming down, the new game engine, the ability to create lifelike stuff is coming fast. Your ability to get into these things with the art stuff that's coming down, the ability to do graphic novels used to cost between $8,000 and $18,000, take 6 months. They're putting them out in a week and a half. Some people who know what they're doing already, you will be able to as well. Let's talk about the map. Wouldn't be much of a story if I actually didn't give you some pieces of how to get there. First one, I have an idea, right? Can't go much further if you don't have an idea. You got to be able to create it. That's one of the reasons you're here, the pieces that you're missing. The correction, piece I'm not really fond of, and I'll tell you a little bit about that during that piece. Assembly, much easier than it was 5 years ago, which was hellaciously easier than it was in 2012. Those of you that were part of it in 2012, I salute you because that was a pain in the ass. Distribution, get it out there. Awareness, one of the hardest nuts to crack. And frankly, the nut that is going to allow you to enjoy doing this for a long time. And then I'm going to talk about 3 separate pieces that are in the chain that support you even further: productization, continuation, and resurrection. All right, let's go with ideation. Everything begins with an idea, right? In order to do this, if you don't already naturally have ideas, drink in creativity using the mode of your choice. What is the mode of your choice? Do you like to watch TV? Do you like to watch movies? Do you prefer comic books? Do you prefer books? I hope a lot of you like books. You know, it doesn't matter. Here's the important part that I want to talk about. Who creates ideas? You do, someone else does, you can collab. You can get on websites right now and put in a sentence and it'll start giving you ideas. The idea step itself is not limited to you. If you desire to publish books, be a publisher, release anything, you are not necessarily the one that has to hold it up. You can definitely say, hey, I want to do everything. Everything is coming from me. By all means, no judgment, feel free. After about 150 series, I got a little dead, and I ended up, I couldn't figure it out. I'm like, well, I could watch movies, but I don't know how long that's going to take me. That's like 2.5 movies, TV shows. I went to movie reviews, the little promos for 2 minutes, and then I went to the comic book shop. I bought $150 worth of comics, and I sat down on my couch and just started going through them. And then I just happened to see one image. It's not even a major part of the comic itself that created an idea, that sparked that idea, sparked it as well. So don't limit yourself to just you. Not every idea is profitable. Some of you have heard the story. I decided one time because, hey, who's here for reverse harem? Where are you? You rich individuals. First, I'd never written a romance. Second, I perhaps have a little bit of an older style concept about romance. Third, I'm a guy. The idea that 4 alpha males would all be okay with 1 female, I couldn't wrap my brain around. I decided to change the tropes. I didn't make money. I lost $15,000. My people in the organization laugh at me today. They don't let me do romances anymore. So not every idea is actually profitable. Let's go to the creation. Some adventures must be taken. And what I mean by that is you must create something. You will have to work. You will have to work. This thing keeps bugging out on me. What are you looking at when you do this? It's a path full of obstacles. You're going to find out why publishers actually get some money and why some publishers take too much money. Don't allow the fact that you don't know to scare you away. At one point in my career, early, I was willing to consider, if someone would just come in and do this for me, I'd be willing to give up, let's say 20%, which most of them take way more. Actually, we take more. But if I had done that, I would have been out $5 million. Kind of happy I didn't do that. The dire woods, the soggy middle. I don't know about you, but whenever I write a book, I get started and I'm excited about it, about 12,500 words. And then for 50,000 words or so, I like, oh my God, this is never gonna end. And right about 58, 60,000 words, I'm like, hey, I'm almost at the end. And then all of a sudden, oh shit, I got more to write. And then close the book and everybody's good. So the soggy middle, the dire woods is what I call it. You're gonna have the problems. You're gonna doubt your story. You're gonna doubt your ability to do it. Don't. Somewhere around book 5, 6, 7, I put it up on there, and I'm like, this is the worst book I ever did. Oh my God, everyone's gonna be, oh, it's so bad. But I put it out there anyway because I was brain fried. And then when I started seeing the reviews were the people like, this is the best book ever. Put my head above water again and again. And then, but what it taught me was the fact that I'm like, wait a minute, I'm the worst person to be making a decision. You need to let your fans tell you what is good and not. Let them do it. You can certainly criticize, but just don't always assume you're the best person to choose that. You're going to yearn for a warm bed of normalcy. Judith will tell you that I probably worked every day for 3.5 years, except for I took 2 days off. But I'm aware of 1 day. I'm giving myself 100% extra. Every single day, it was weird because you get into it and you go, I don't know what day of the week it is. Really couldn't tell you. It's like weekend, weekdays, didn't really matter. And it became captivating. It really did. It engaged me at certain subconscious levels to allow me to believe that this was normal. Judith tried somewhere around year 4 to get me to start taking Sundays off. I'm worried about my health. Wives are never right. So I did it for like half a day and then slipped back into my normal routine for another year. She got me to do it a year later. You need to take. You know, you ever get, hey guys, you ever get that tone of voice from your wife? The one that says, oh shit, she means it this time. I got that time. So I started taking it off. And then I countered the bad side of it, the bad, seductive side of a day off, which I chose to be Sunday. Mondays became a bitch again. You know, when you get up there and go, oh, Monday. I hadn't suffered for 4 years. And all of a sudden now I did. Then I started fighting, like 6 months later, I started kind of taking, I take Saturdays as a me day. If I work on something, it's whatever I want to work on. But I started getting to that, I don't want to work. Do I need to work? And so you start struggling through that about how much work is good. For the ladies here that were like, I work Monday through Friday and this is what I do, I'm like, man, that sounds awesome. My personality doesn't work that way terribly well, and I struggle both ways, working too much and not working enough. So you fall into the talking about the adventure is good enough. How many people talk about the book they're gonna write? The one that they're in the middle of. I didn't mean you to be this honest, but sure, go ahead. I wasn't gonna call you on that, but yes, absolutely. You know, talking about the adventure. And back in 2017, I said, push the fucking button. Push it. You can't figure out what life is like until you push the button and put the book up there and actually have to react to it. And if you get too scared, do it under a pen name. Figure out how to do it. Correction, fixing the narrative. What do you fear? I fear, that's one of those honest moments, right? What is it you fear, Mike? I fear rejection. I fear correction at a certain level. It pisses me off. I get it edited because I didn't want somebody to tell me my stuff was Not good. So I highly suggest not using an editor that is in a small island in the middle of nowhere in the Pacific and you have to wire money to them. Out on book 3, you can edit better than them. I feared an editor telling me they didn't like my book, so I just self-edited. Did I do bad? Not particularly, because I know myself, my psychology at the time, I wouldn't have been able to get past that. So I couldn't even tell my younger self, you need to get an editor, which I did need to, because I wouldn't have been able to handle it. But there are many ways for you to get through what it is. But what do you fear? I feared that. You fear effort, because it can be a lot. What are you willing to go through? Alpha readers, do you want to hear that something is bad? Like I talked to Craig one time. At the time that I spoke to him, Craig admitted that he read all the reviews. I'm not like that. It's not my personality. I was admitting to Judith the 5th book. I'm like, oh, I feel so bad because I don't read these low-level reviews. And she goes, are you going to change anything from them? And I thought about it. I go, no, too much of an ego to do that. She goes, well, then don't read them. Guys, isn't it awesome when your wife allows you to do shit you don't want to do anyway? Your significant other? So yeah, authority figures, editors. Lynn and I, which was my primary editor for many years, still does edit me. She and I have an agreement. We've worked it out. This is how it works for me, and only me, well, a few others, but I'm just saying, I'm not suggesting this for you. I took her edits. Really, 13 minutes? Holy shit, are you changing that when I'm not looking? All right. Co-creators and you. I have to get to the other ones. Holy crap. Yeah, no, we can't go over. There's like $50,000 on the line. We're not going over shit. Quality for assembly, presentation. Make sure that you do a good presentation. Use vellum. Use something. Get somebody to do it. There's a lot of cheap ways to accomplish all of this. Don't allow your quality to go down because you don't understand something. There's usually a simple way to make it. In fact, go to Draft a Digital website. If you haven't learned about that, go there. They have a lot of tools to make things a lot easier that look good. So that includes the book setup, get a website. You need somebody to be able to go and at least contact you. The advertising, don't forget your frickin' advertising. Your fan interaction. If you want to understand what it really means to drive audience, fan interaction, in my opinion, is one of the best you can do. I did it in the beginning. I took off. I focused on the company. I stopped doing it. I'm not as big as I used to be. I'm just not. Fan interaction is something that I'm working on. Fan interaction is actually one of the most powerful ways for you to get people talking about you. Products inside the assembly. We're going to go to that. Awareness. Look, every story needs to crawl out of obscurity. It's on you to get it out there. You have millions of competitors, but you can do it. There are ways that work. Hell, there's classes here that are going to talk about it all week, and you have probably half this group can explain and help you if you think you need a leg up. So get the word out. Don't use everything. Don't think that I have to go TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, other social effort that's du jour at the moment. Use the ones that work for you. Use the ones that you enjoy. Figure it out, because you can. People go, BookTop, or a BookBub, works for me. Great. I've never been successful. They always reject me. Remember that fear of rejection? So fuck you, BookBub. No. A great company, but for me, it didn't work. Lean on those helping you, other authors, to promote each other. If you've got 50 fans, that's 50 fans somebody else doesn't have access to. Maybe they have 15, y'all can swap. All it takes is one of those fans to get on fire for you and help move you forward.